Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jerry Penny. On today's episode, I have Joe Walker here with me. Joe was one of the original gym members that started. Joe trained me all through high school, started as a freshman, went on to play football at Army. We're going to talk about his experience with the Army-Navy game and his experiences through high school, college, and he just recently graduated Ranger School. So we're just going to talk to Joe about life, his experiences with the gym, and how things have changed over the years and how he's evolved. So it's going to be really good. She'd seen Joe from the ground up. So anyway, here we go with Joe Walker. Hey, Joe.
How you doing, Jerry?
Welcome. Hey, a little nervous?
Not really. I'm happy to be here. Happy to do it.
You were one of the original Super Weenies. Did I call y'all Super Weenies back then?
Yeah, we were Super Weenies. I was a Super Weenie at your original gym, not too far down the road. But I remember when I first started here, I was a lot different.
Yeah, you were real quiet. You were a lot like Cody was.
Kinda.
You know?
I think the gym and just lifting. I think it just added confidence. When you feel strong, you become a little bit more talkative, and I think my personality came out a little bit more, and that's kind of shaped me as a person. I was a naturally talkative person, but when you don't feel strong, you feel weak. You're small. You don't really want to talk too much.
Yeah, so I guess if you're saying if you're weak, your voice don't feel like it can be heard.
Right. Sometimes, yeah, that can be the case for a lot of young athletes growing up. If you feel weak, you don't really want to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
But when you feel strong, a lot of times it allows some of the characteristics that may not have shown when you weren't as strong or you didn't feel as strong. And sometimes that allows your leadership capabilities to come out as an athlete.
Yeah, one of the unique things about Joe is Joe actually grew up very quiet, did not lift, was not very strong at all when you first started.
No.
And the way he evolved, he ended up helping me out at the gym and helping me coach athletes by the time he was done. Joe actually even competed in powerlifting competitions. Do you remember anything about the first gym? What was your first memory of kind of coming there? I like to get this because, like I was talking earlier, I don't remember some of the things that you and Allie were talking about.
No, so the first thing that sticks out about that gym is the prowler. That prowler on concrete.
The prowler outside on concrete, and you know what? I think your mom and dad made you do it more than I made.
Yeah, no, it was that prowler, man, on that concrete in the hot summer days, man. It was one of those things where you wanted to pass out and lay on the ground, but the concrete was too hot, so you couldn't even lay down there, and it was just it's just all around bad deal. But no, I think that thing it definitely
really helped shape y'all to start.
Yeah,
your sisters were crying, you were crying, everybody was crying. I almost cried because I felt sorry for you.
No, it definitely shaped us. It created a foundation for us as lifters and athletes, and it was something it's so small when you think back on it, but it was something that sets us a strong foundation and built like that mindset for hard work and putting your body and pushing those limits that allow us to excel in whatever we did.
I'd like to get your two sisters on this thing so we could talk about their experiences with it as well, because y'all kind of grew up. And I think we was talking earlier even with Allie. Mm-hmm. It starts with your parents.
Yeah.
Your mom made shit. Y'all don't want to come all the time.
No, yeah, my mom was definitely a big factor. Both my parents, because obviously we couldn't drive then, so it took a lot of dedication for them to bring us to those workouts. But there were a lot of times where I definitely didn't want to show up. I was sore. I felt like I had, a lot of things I needed to be doing. But that was something that, an hour and a half time that they made sure we carved out to, better us in the future.
One of the funny things is nowadays, I guess people a little bit more, a lot different. Now, the parents are coming here asking the kid if they liked it. I don't think y'all ever had a choice.
No.
Do y'all like it, honey? Was that fun?
No.
Fun. I said, if it's fun, y'all are in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, working out's fun. Eventually, you
it's fun when you get strong.
Right. It's fun when you're strong. But those building phases of setting that foundation and kind of building those movements for the different lifts and really getting that strength. It's not a fun period at all.
The starting. Anytime you start something, you're bad. And then you don't know if you're even doing it right.
Yeah.
So you're going to question yourself, and you already don't have any confidence, so you just want to go hide in a hole somewhere.
Yeah, no.
And that's kind of, but you really evolved. They gave you a lot of compliments at Army for your strength, didn't they?
Yeah. I at the foundation I built through working out here with you at Explosive Mechanics and just the powerlifting background that allowed me to excel in college, especially when it came to Olympic lifts. And because a lot of those Olympic lifts, those things are based on powerlifting.
Yeah, you had to be strong before you could move the weight fast.
Right. And it turned out I ended up being, one of the stronger, probably the strongest pound for pound skill player during my time at West Point. And I was
alive at West Point.
I was live for a while, and I found myself competing with a lot of the guys that were considered in the box guys or combo players or linebackers and the fullbacks for offense. The guys that were a lot of times without weighing by 15 to 20 pounds, but I could at least be in the ballpark and be competing to push those guys with weight, things of that nature. So it turned out well for me on the field and off the field and in the weight room, and just it set a great foundation to allow me to excel at the next level and really push the limits with strength.
Yeah, that's good, because I think your mom would call, let me know that, man, that strength really kind of paid off. Your mom was always really in the game. I remember one time, I don't know if you or Danielle and Chanel remember this, I had them deadlifting one day. And I think, I want to give your sister, I think your sisters really helped me evolve as a strength coach.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I say that was because I was too nice at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always trying to be nice, and when I demanded respect from them, they'd always talk back,
mm-hmm.
and then would kind of get in a fight and an argument.
Mm-hmm.
And so after developing through them and with Brandy, I started being a lot more strict. And I guess you've probably seen it through the years when you came back here. But what happened was I just learned, okay, look, you're going to do this, this, and this. I'm not really going to be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're here long enough, then we develop that relationship. We
Mm-hmm.
develop it. But starting off, I'm not caring if you like me or if you don't like me.
Right.
I think you got to kind of get to a level to where when I say something, you need to kind of do it and get it over with. But
right.
What happened one time is your sisters were screwing around in the gym, and y'all need a deadlift. Nah. And your mom pulls up.
Mm-hmm.
And screw you, Jared, see ya. And this was at the first place.
Mm-hmm.
They walked out, got in the car, and I came to Therese. They didn't finish the deadlift. Your mom cussed them two out.
Oh yeah,
man. And she yelled. I ain't never heard anything like that. I thought about going to throw it on 3-6 Mafia, be a little cleaner.
No, yeah, my mom didn't play that.
And she said your dad will be back to get you. Your sisters didn't talk to me for 2 weeks.
Yeah. But that was something they needed to learn. I think because the gym, it can be a fun place. It's it shouldn't be a place that's too wound up, too tight. But it's a place you come to work.
Yeah.
And it was
when you're under the bar, you got to go to work.
Right.
When you're not under the bar, then you can have some social stuff, because we do rest a good bit between stuff.
Right.
But I think that's critical. I think good parents like yours,
absolutely,
really help a lot. Because if you're sitting there saying, "Mom, I don't want to go today,"
mm-hmm.
and she would let you stay at home, you wouldn't be the person you are today.
No, not at all.
I think the parents being behind you, like I can call Sharice, I can call Vernell, I can call last year I could have called. I didn't never have to worry about Wesley. Wesley's always wound up tight when we're working to work out. But Allie, I call Allie's parents. I call Mikey's parents. I have not talked to Mikey in a few years.
Yeah.
I can always call when you develop a relationship with the parents like that, saying, "Hey, look, they're not showing up. They're not doing this,"
mm-hmm.
and you got parents like yours that care.
Yeah.
I think you'll have people that turn out like y'all did.
Yeah, especially
and
that it's top down.
You just graduated Ranger School. That's a pretty big task.
Yeah.
But before we get in there, let's get this high school crap out. We're going to go from level to level.
Okay, we'll work up.
You know me, I'm a little scatterbrained. I'm all over the place.
It's all good. We'll work up.
Do you remember what your first bench max was?
I do. The first thing I remember you saying to me, where you told me to take my shirt off, and you were like, "Look, you see how your shoulders slouch forward, and you don't really have a chest sticking out." He was like, "We're gonna change that." I was like, I looked down. I was like, "Okay." But I don't even remember my first bench max. I know it wasn't 135.
I do remember your shoulders were like that.
Yeah.
But I did not remember that till you just told me. Just like you're saying, you're looking at all these people on the wall, all these signings and stuff. And we were talking earlier, Jared, do you remember this? Heck no, I didn't even realize you went to powerlifting competition.
Yeah.
With Antonio,
Yep.
Cody, Kyle, Colton.
I was the original.
You was the original Team Explosive member.
I was the original Team Explosive member. I dominated the 149 weight class back in the day.
That's why I don't have any hair, because all these kids have stressed me out so much over the years, I don't remember anything.
It happens.
But that's funny. That's good. And so you don't remember your first bench max?
No.
You were pretty weak. You couldn't even bench 100. I remember you not benching 95. We had to structure you down. I don't remember that. We didn't even have a folder at that time.
No, there were no folders then. It was on the board.
Yeah.
You wrote the workouts on the board when we first got there, and I remember there was no. You didn't have a system for really knowing. You kind of just asked, did you do upper body or lower body last time?
Yeah.
And that was kind of your system for a while. So it was.
But y'all came. The reason y'all got to switch upper lower.
We came a lot.
Yeah, y'all came. You don't realize this. Y'all came 4 days a week. Every week.
Yeah.
For the first year. Y'all were not allowed to back off, and you got these little weenie kids now. I got homework. I'm going to skip the gym.
No.
Well, you're going to skip out on your college scholarship.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of work.
Yeah, you got to start. That's what we was talking with Allie about. Is that I think, especially when you got to Army, you got to learn how to balance athletics, your academics, and you got your personal career, and you got your sleep. You got so much to start learning how to balance. Yeah. You had football practice at school, and you had training. Right. You know, sometimes a high school training is not training; it's just
go in there and throw a weight.
It's a advanced PE class,
basically. Yeah, it wasn't very structured at the time,
and because they're not as specific as we are now with the folders. Like I know exactly where you are with your sets and reps, and I think that's what people don't get. The difference between here and high school, or even at the collegiate level, is I basing everything off your last workout. Sometimes when you got a college workout, you got a sheet to do for a week or even 2 weeks at a time. And so workout 1, baseline, workout 2, we manipulate from what 1 looked like, then 3s, what 1 and 2 look like, 4s, what 1, 2, and 3 look like. And eventually I have you dialed in to where I know you're moving this weight at this rate of speed, this set, this reps, how many of this, and how you did that. But I know you couldn't bench 95. What'd you leave here benching? 365 or more?
Yeah, I believe it was 365 was when I finished up in high school as a senior, and I was only weighing maybe 165, 170 pounds.
Yeah, y'all weren't very heavy.
No.
And that's the thing about that's why D'Angelo brings Nehemiah and Kyrie's an hour round trip, an hour here, an hour back. Because when the soccer brought some of those guys from Auburn up here, they could not get over Kyle at 150 pounds benching 300.
No.
That's ridiculous.
No, yeah, I definitely those guys, Cody, Kyle, and even Colton.
What Mike Hilton weight? Mike Hilton's still with the Steelers.
Yep.
Mike Hilton, I remember him going from 225. I remember him repping 305. I don't know what his highest bench was. But Mike was a hard-hitting DB, was up for the Jim Thorpe Award while he was at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But that strength's a base for that speed and power. You know, Mike was a small DB. Yeah. Killing folks.
Still is.
I think it gave him a little hard time because I hate it that these people are looking for standards that you're not this high at this weight, you can't play.
Right.
And I think Mike Hilton's kind of proven him wrong. Smaller DB, but it lights you up.
Yeah.
You know, so you've done an excellent job of going from less than 100 to 350 plus, which is 365.
Wow. Yeah.
How was I remember your sisters crying all the time when I was making a box jump. But when we were box jumping back in the day, we had those metal boxes. Yeah. I think some of them lost some skin. I think
Chanel, it was Chanel or Daniel. One of them took out their shin one time.
Yeah, that's it. I said, Donna, I got to do something about these boxes. That's when I got the plywood boxes that are all foam.
No, yeah, there was the box jumping. That was I remember it was a huge mental thing.
You didn't want to bust your shins, but you had to get on that certain height.
Yeah, but I think it was a confidence thing, and it was a thing that tested your explosiveness and just overall your athletic ability and coordination. And they were, a lot of times, I think it did something that we didn't realize as an athlete. I don't even know if you realized it, but I think it was really learning how to push your limits and really push your body and mentally lock in. And I think that's something with lifting in general, and especially with those boxes. Yeah. I remember staring at a box, a 48-inch box. I remember that was a big thing to do back then when we first started. And I remember looking at the box, and I remember just staring at it, and I was like, get on there, can I get on there? And I remember it was one of those mental battles you had to fight that day. And some days you come in, and you'd be in a bad mood and didn't want to jump, but you had literally had to push through it. And you would force it, you wouldn't let us leave. And just they're doing those box jumps. Those things were my arch nemesis for a while, but it became a fun thing to do to challenge myself, and especially when it was safer with those foam boxes. It was a lot easier to do.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about getting hurt. It's either you do or you don't.
Yeah, it was a safety thing when we first started with those metal boxes, but once you got the foam ones, it just made it even better.
Yeah, I think
push yourself even farther.
Yeah, I think what happened is with the boxes, you learned that you could do something you thought you couldn't do.
Yep.
And I think that started teaching that.
Absolutely.
That was at the first place. Do you remember any other memories of pushing the prowler outside?
Yeah, I remember doing the pull-ups.
Yeah, man, Cody used to do pull-up challenge. You're the reason that Cody started pushing.
Yeah.
Because Cody would not listen to me. I beat his butt one time. He was running on I had that treadmill, that Woodway treadmill. Just kind of like the tread sled, but it's not like the tread sled. And he told me shut up, and I started beating him with a stopwatch in front of everybody. Good thing we don't have Instagram stuff back in the day.
Times change, yeah.
But he was my kid. I do what I want to.
Yeah.
You know, if the child services come take me away, then they'll starve because they don't have any money. Well, Donna would supply them with that stuff, but that's okay.
That's all good.
So we had that. I remember y'all going to that bathroom, Antonio puking all the time.
Yeah.
I don't even know what and some of the stuff we did wasn't even that hard. It was just tough.
It wasn't even, it
wasn't really a work. It wasn't a lot. We didn't do a lot of exercises.
No, it was sometimes it would just be the conditioning thing at the end to kind of get us back in shape, but it was a different type of conditioning I just had never really experienced. I mean, I played a lot of sports. I was a basketball kid. I ran a lot of suicides.
Okay, now
but the prowler's different.
What sports did you? Because I was talking to Allie.
Yeah.
And we were talking about sports that she played growing up, and I had a phone conversation with a parent last week, a 9-year-old kid, and she said he wants to go play football for, I don't know if it's University of Georgia or whatever. This 9-year-old kid probably don't even know what it takes to get into UGA. So I think these thought processes are put in these kids' head. The kid don't know what UGA football is about. You know what I'm saying? And so, and it's not cheap to come here,
right?
Because it's only for the series. It's not supposed to be for everybody. If you want to come here and pay for it, you can. Right. It just depends on, are you dedicated enough to do it?
Right.
You know, because you will get a return on your investment later on if you have put time into it. But so the question I had for the parent, how tall is the kid going to be? Because when you're going for collegiate sports, they do care about height, they do care about weight, they care about all these different, you got to fit this mold for this. And so I said, what sports? And football only. Football. I said, so what you should do, put them in soccer, gymnastics, wrestling, basketball. Basketball players are very athletic. Hand-eye coordination, being able to move with the ball and do different things like that.
Right.
You pick up strength qualities from wrestling and from gymnastics.
Right.
You pick up hand-eye coordination with basketball and soccer.
Right.
Not necessarily hand, but footwork. So you pick up different physical traits from different sports that require different demands.
Right.
With football, if you just throw all the time, you just throw. So if you're ever challenged to kick, you can't do it.
Right.
And so, like, if you went to Army, you noticed that some of the super athletes on the team, they were good at ping pong. They were good at almost everything they touched.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty mean on that ping pong table. So if anybody wants to play ping pong, they can get beaten at.
But okay, well that goes back. What sports did you do growing up? I know you played baseball in high school.
Yeah, I actually
played football. What else?
I played soccer. I did a season of soccer.
Okay.
I actually played hockey over in Peachtree City.
Okay.
At the rink over by Kedge. I played for 3 years. I played tennis. There was a point where my mom was wanting me to try lacrosse before. My mom was a cheerleading coach for years. Never did cheerleading, but I did. I used to mess around in the gym and I learned how to tumble.
Okay.
I tried swimming for a brief stint. I pretty much tried any sport I kind of had my heart or mind set on. My mom really allowed me to kind of explore the different things I wanted to do. Started with baseball at a young age, started with football at a young age. Those things that have my main focus, they last the test of time, I guess, and I continued to do those in high school and eventually played football in college. But growing up, I played every sport possible, and I think, like you said, it's developing those motor skills and becoming a well-rounded athlete to do many different things that allowed me to really decide what I wanted to do ultimately at the end. When it came to high school, I guess once you get to upper middle, 8th grade and 9th grade, you kind of can lock in and maybe put that focus on the sport you necessarily want to do and play at the next level. But I wasn't forced to play any particular sport growing up. I played all types of different sports, and I think those different things allowed me to be successful in multiple positions. I was a quarterback for a long time in football. I went to college and played running back.
Yeah, and I was telling someone earlier is that that's why you have to pick up these different physical qualities. Because you get to college, you were quarterback. You got to college, you played running back.
Yeah.
I've seen some college, high school running backs, all state running backs, especially when I was at Memphis. They get to Memphis, they go to linebacker.
Yep.
So, that's just what I'm saying. If you're sitting there throwing all the time, and you're asked all of a sudden required to catch, and you can't catch, you're lacking. That will be your limitation.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good. So I think for the parents, get these kids involved in as much or as many different sports as they can, so they can develop those physical traits.
Absolutely. If I could give any advice to parents, a lot of kids explore the sports world. A lot of them try different things because growing up in Georgia, you see football. Football is the sport. Me being in New York, playing football in New York, it was uncommon to see that basketball is a big sport of lacrosse up north. And, you get to Maryland, you start getting in that area. Lacrosse is a big sport that a lot of kids are very interested in. They grow up wanting to play lacrosse. Being in the South, football is the thing to do. It's a big thing, which I understand. You grow up, you want to play football.
That's kind of what you do around Thanksgiving and New Year's around here in the South.
Right. Yeah, you want to play football, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, I wouldn't. If they want to only focus on football, that's their choice. But I would also just tell them to keep their mind open and play any other sport they decide to play, because it could be a natural sport. For them, it could be baseball, it could be basketball, it could be soccer. There's a lot of different realms that athleticism can transcend. You can be good at multiple sports, and it'll give you an opportunity to make a decision at a higher level, what best fits you.
The qualities that you pick up from those different things really help out a lot in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
James Skowski plays for Clemson.
Yep.
He was a big soccer kid. He was coming here 6th, 7th. I don't know if he came here 8th. I know he's 6th and 7th. And then he came back his sophomore, junior, and senior year. His mom did not want him, and dad did not want him to come here because skating would get too big for soccer. His dad played football at the collegiate level, and I said, "This kid's a football player." And so
now he's a linebacker at Clemson.
Now he's a linebacker at Clemson, and so that's why he started coming back, because he realized you're going to be that big. He was already given the genetics.
Right.
But he also kicked a 40-something yard field goal at a Clemson practice. That was on Twitter or something.
Right.
So he kicked football and he can run you down.
He's talented.
Yeah, he's I think he was running a 4.7 here on the lasers at 245 pounds. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
And so he played a multitude of different sports. And I think that's multiple sports at that young age is very critical. And so if they pick up different qualities, like with the strength from the wrestling and from the gymnastics, like I got a little 8-year-old girl, and I got I think her friend Katie's 10. Those two girls, if they stay with it, they will be very special because they're so young and they're gymnastics and they're lifting. I would probably throw them in another sport. I think the other girl, Alex, does golf. So I don't know what other sports Katie does. But one of the dads, Katie's dad, was like, they see him coming here. Sometimes when you're a little kid like y'all were, you don't take it serious at first, especially a 9 and 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And the dad came to me the other day and was really thankful that the girls did really good. Even on their worst event was better than their last event last year.
Yeah.
And so I think that the way they were able to move, and usually the first tournament or whatever they do for gymnastics is usually pretty rough. You got to kind of knock the dust off, get back in the rhythm of things and stuff like that. And he said they performed really well and was really thankful. And I was trying to talk to the dad today about developing different strength qualities,
right,
and how we have to do this over this time. It takes long. You're not going to go from a 100-pound bench like you did from a sophomore to a junior. It took 4 years to go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. I mean, you matured a whole lot. You went from not talking to almost talking too much, but now you're a leader.
Yeah.
You've gone through. That's why I was really excited to get you on, because you've gone through many stages that's been really exciting to see.
Yeah.
And so going through high school football, and we'll get off the subject of the different sports, but again, you're a multiple sport athlete, and you were able to go in advance and take it to the next level. Yeah. You had a hard time in high school with the recruiting process.
I did.
You were. I hate these things like. I know some of the coaches around here with these football coaches, they're not there. I don't think they're there to help kids. They're only there to help themselves.
Right.
You had a quarterback situation when you was in high school. We didn't have to call the high school out.
Right.
You were working and you were supposed to be the starting quarterback, right?
Yeah, I was.
I don't really know the full story, so I want you to clarify that. And you can tell as much as you want.
I was a backup quarterback for a guy that was a year older than me for 2 years. So from my sophomore year and junior year, I was a backup quarterback to this guy. He was a good player. Like nothing away from him. He was a very good player. Kind of understood why I was behind him. But I was also a good player myself. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of going into my senior year, kind of looking at that transition, I saw a little bit of a situation developing with the coach's son. Nothing against the coach or the son. The son was a good player, and he ended up going to play in college ball. He's a heck of an athlete. But it was a situation I just didn't see myself fitting in for my best interest as a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Part of the issue was that he wouldn't allow me to play another position. Mm-hmm. Knowing the type of athlete I knew I was and what I was capable of doing, part of the issue was I was only being allowed to play quarterback, and I wasn't. And I was like, hey, if you think he's a better quarterback, that's fine.
But let me play his other position.
Allow me to play something else, like an athlete. Yeah. Like I'm not stuck in this, one dimension of one position.
But you proved that when you went to Army.
Right, and even when I went to, I transferred high schools and played another school, and we ended up playing a team that they were playing the game after us. Mm-hmm. So I think it was the third game of the season, and they had a bye week, and they were playing the same team we were playing that week, the next week, and they came to our game. And they saw me in a different facet, in special teams and kickoff return, and playing a little bit of receiver, a little bit of running back, some wildcat stuff with me at quarterback. It was just like, it was kind of like I don't know if they maybe knew it or whatever, but I mean, it was kind of a game for me that I had something to prove, because I was like, I could have done something else and I wasn't allowed to.
And you were playing all those different positions.
And I was doing all those different things at another school, playing against the same school that they were playing next week, and we beat that school. I went to a private school and we ended up playing, it was a larger school. It was a school that was supposed to be the top school in the county, with, players that were recruited by Alabama and all these guys. They had a dean committed to Alabama, a guy going to South Carolina. They were supposed to have all these highly touted guys that were supposed to be, the top guys, top dogs in the county, in the area. We ended up beating that school. So it was a statement for me, but it was also just a testament that, sometimes kids just need opportunity. I may have not, who knows what would happen if I stayed, at the school I was at.
Well, I'll tell you that the situation that I think hurt Colton. Mm-hmm. Everybody, Joe knows Colton real well. Mm-hmm. He's used to pick on Colton, beat Colton up. Now he's a physical freak, right?
Yeah, he's a beast now. Huh?
He was not always strong.
Right? No, he wasn't. I remember I've seen him be a little knucklehead, be a little weak knucklehead, run around the gym, and he turned into a monster by the time I came back from just seeing him when he was in high school.
Yeah, I think you're just starting. Yeah, it's. You see these kids and you don't know, like Brooks is really bad too.
Oh yeah, I remember Brooksy. He was a little pudgy fellow,
but then they turn into athletes.
He had a 4-inch vertical, so he's.
I think people are built. I was looking through YouTube, or I was flipping through some old pictures, and I saw a picture of your sisters years ago. Mm-hmm. One of our first shirts said "Building Athletes" on the back, mm-hmm. And like you saw Colton, and Ben Baggett plays at Stanford for baseball. Right. He goes, Jared, I was not born this way. I was built. Right. And I think with you playing those different sports, and you had the right mind frame, mm-hmm. So you had sports, you had the skills mm-hmm. that you developed from all those other things. Right. You had the parents. Right. I think parents number one. You developed skills number two. Right. Then that instilled work ethic. Right. Then you started working. Then I think it's a huge pie. It's just not go there, okay, I'm automatically good at football. Mm-hmm. You had all these other factors that played into being good at something.
Absolutely. I think there's some part of natural ability that goes in there with every athlete. Some athletes are gifted, but I think in 95% of these cases, we may see them as gifted, but we don't know how they were built. Yeah. Where they came from, like what they grew up doing to build those skills or those kind of fibers and those things that they were doing. That shows up on a field that we didn't see coming, but like you said, every athlete's built. We were built from the ground up. We started with a foundation of just being competitive, being athletes, getting out there competing. Mm-hmm. But it was that fine tuning, that work mentality when it came to the weight room, that transcended to the court for my sisters and me to the field, and then everything we do in our life. It's just a mentality that
Yeah, that work ethic still. Your sisters are still grinding.
Right.
You was talking earlier about who is it? Chanel that's doing all the art stuff, and she's doing arts. She's doing stuff on the side. She works what? Is she still at Baylor?
Yeah, so she's at Baylor. She's in charge of the creative designs for the Baylor football, and also just athletics in general. She does a lot of different things for them, and she also does photography and things on the side.
She's not sitting there just laid back.
Absolutely,
she's working like she always has. And I think that's big. I think sometimes these people see what they see sometimes these talented people. Well, these talented people, I guarantee you, they didn't sit there and play video games all the time. They're probably in the yard playing home run derby by themselves, or on the basketball court by themselves, or they're in the yard playing.
Right.
You know, so they were getting those skills from the different sports. They may not have been in organized sports, but they were developing skills from the things that they were doing. They weren't sitting around the house because mom ain't gonna let them.
Right. Right.
You know, and so it just depends on what is natural. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you think what really is like naturally coming to these kids.
Was it natural for that kid to go outside and play, or was he made to? Did you naturally come to the gym, or your parents made you sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of both. I think parents have a lot to do with it. You know, me growing up as a kid, I did have video games, but I also played outside a lot, and that was something that I did. Technology wasn't as big when I was younger growing up, so we played outside a lot more.
When you first started the gym, YouTube was just really starting.
Yeah, YouTube was like just starting.
There was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there wasn't any of this stuff that we have now.
No.
Good thing it was too not popular in high school, was it? We'd all been in trouble back then.
Yeah, no.
We don't need to go get no fruit cups, do we?
No fruit cups.
Oh shoot, people! Yeah, that's a gym joke.
That'll forever be an explosive mechanics gym joke.
Joe's gonna get a fruit cup at his wedding.
Absolutely. I love Chick-fil-A fruit cups. They ever give me gifts.
Man, I could never figure out what the heck was going on that day.
That's all good. Good memories.
That was fun. What was it like? So we had to struggle. I think with the athletes playing different positions, you did the right thing. Colton was being looked at by Ohio State, Washington State, Ole Miss, even Mikey Hilton even said something about that. He was looked at South Carolina. I mean, these are big time Power 5 schools.
Yeah.
Troy, as low as Troy, and as far as Kansas.
Okay.
Even Nevada, Buffalo.
All over the place. Okay.
You had Colton all over the place.
Yeah.
A lot of these schools wanted to see how Colton would turn around, open up in coverage. They want to see his change of direction, and they want to see his covering ability. They had Colton at defensive end in high school. Going into senior year, he was about 210, 6'1", 210, 4'6", 4'5", laser 40. He also had the highest vertical jump in the country through Nike Spark. So after Nike went around from as far as Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, Texas, Houston, all over it, now as far as California, Chicago, New York, this was a whole Nike countrywide thing. After going through multiple states and multiple big cities with those states, that Nike combine rating, and you had a couple, I think 2,500 athletes come to Atlanta one. And so if you got 2,000 based off of 15 to 18 events where they went to, Colton, out of all those states, out of all those kids, Colton was the #1 highest vertical jumper in the country.
That's something that's pretty notable. I mean, because there's some freaks out there.
Yeah, and Seymour was number 7, Zach, and Alex was number 9. So I had 1, 7, and 9, top 10 in the country. And so that goes to show you that these athletes are built.
Oh yeah,
and they're manufactured right here. And I don't think people understand that, because Seymour, they weren't natural. They had to, their mom and dad dropped them off the gym, come pick them up when they were done. They didn't sit there and watch, ask them if they liked it.
Oh no, I remember those guys. They were young.
They had to go to work.
Yeah, Zach and his brother, all 3 of those guys. I watched them work for years. I remember, you know, as I was, you know, coming up and just watching them when they were little kids, and they were, you know, little knuckleheads that weren't even focused, and they were just kind of there to play.
Yeah, they were.
But they eventually, you know, after the many repetitions, you know, that it had almost like a compounding effect, just doing something small.
Yeah, even if they were not serious. Y'all were not serious at first. I think you have to be there long enough to get serious. Whether the parents, oh, I see my kid ain't gonna come in here and play around with this. It spends too much money. Well, you know what? Why don't you drop your kid off, leave, let that kid develop.
Mm-hmm.
Let that kid develop the want to do it. Let that kid develop the seriousness to do it. If you pull them out every time they're not serious, they'll not be serious on purpose to get away from not doing anything.
All right.
You know, so it's kind of like they got to learn how, okay, well, I'll let Jared deal with it. Let them come here. Let them at least go through the motion, because doing something's better than doing nothing all the time. Whether it's 100% serious or not, 50% is better than 0%.
Yeah, and I think what it does is it allows them to develop somewhat of a maturity. Because, you know, some kids at a certain age, like, I mean, it's hard to ask if you put 10 9-year-olds together, a group of kids that age, it's hard to tell them to be super serious about lifting. Because, they're just all over the place sometimes, and there's a lot of different things that, can, factor into that. But I think
they're kids. You put down a toy car, they're gonna play with stupid things.
Exactly. So I think after a while, it develops a maturity within them, and then they understand. Over time, they'll get it and they'll understand the mindset. And I don't think it's something. I think you did a great job of it. I think because, like you said, once you build that foundation, they understand. Once you get under the bar, once you're going into that lift to lock back in, and it's that time to work. That's something. It's a skill you have to develop. That it may take a while for little kids, and once they get it, they're good to go. But parents have to allow that to happen. And for some kids, eventually, if it's not for them, and they don't ever build that want you to do it, they won't do it.
When did you start taking it serious? Were you think that you got to your junior year?
No, it was before then. For me.
Did the powerlifting help?
I think the powerlifting did.
Because you and Cody were always competing.
Yep.
You made Cody stronger because Cody didn't want to listen. Cody didn't want to do anything.
Right.
But the reason I think you're a big key in everything is that Cody wasn't going to listen. He was stronger than you when you started, but you got stronger than him.
Right.
And he didn't like that.
No.
Because you were listening, and he was being Cody.
And then I'll let him know about
it. I think y'all did a good job. Y'all were always competing, and I think that's what it takes, friendly competition.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's kind of how it all started rolling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's when Cody started listening. And then
that board too, the record board. When you had that board.
Yeah, because you and him would always compete on that stuff too. Then I said, man, screw y'all. Y'all can have that crap, especially on the pull-ups.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was that board, that competition, that competitiveness. It's important for, as an athlete, as a lifter, anything you do, is competition. And that board, seeing those records on the board, that's what drove Cody and I for a while. And anyone that went there, I mean, you took pride in seeing your name on that board, having that record and holding that place, and knowing that gym could beat you, whatever that was. Yeah, we took pride in that, and that's what we competed in.
That board's a problem. You know why? I was talking to a couple people. I get these messages on Instagram and stuff like that across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Record boards and this. And I had a guy come in from Pennsylvania the other day, Bird Sports Performance, took a picture of it. I said, Bird, I think it's bad. Y'all built the record board.
Mm-hmm. You,
Cody, y'all started because y'all were the ones writing each other's names off and on. Antonio, y'all were always scratching each other's numbers off. Now you go look at the record board. If you were young Joe, and you saw that Kyle jumped a 37-inch vertical at 13 years old.
That's a big. I see
what
you're getting at.
And you're sitting there saying, "Oh, I jumped 20." You feel like you'll never get there. That's why I think. And sometimes my record board's not always updated. Like, okay, if you were a high school athlete coming here, and you start off as a sophomore, and and you're over here deadlifting 275. You look at Seymour's record, 600, under 200 pounds. Zach deadlifted 600 at 195.
Yeah.
That's a beast. That's a heck of a load.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who said, "Oh, his back." Well, that guy, whoever messaged, "Oh, his back," needs to go ahead and jump off a cliff. Because if he's worried about getting hurt, he's in the wrong game.
Yeah.
You play football for safety reasons?
No.
Hey, you were an Army.
I mean, the way they do it. I mean, the way college sports is now. I don't know what they're doing with football, but I mean, safety. I guess it's important.
You don't do it because it's safety.
No.
You don't like Jared. I'm scared to lift weights because I'm scared to get hurt.
No. Yeah.
Or are you scared to drive your car down the street because you won't get in a wreck? It's the same thing.
That's a part of the sport. It's the adrenaline rush of competing, and it's that physicality that most guys play the sport for.
So what would you tell young Joe? You know, you was in high school. I think your era of athletes did it right because you didn't really goof off a whole lot. You just didn't know how to turn it off and on because you were beginning.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of things with all these beginners. If the parents allow them to dictate whether the kid wants to do it or not, they're going in the wrong direction.
Right.
If your kid wants to be great, or you think your kid's going to be great, they can't do average things. If they like it or don't like it, who cares? If you know it's going to help them, you do it. Did you ever get a whooping when you was little?
Oh yeah.
All right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If you told your mom that you didn't like it, you think you'd get another one?
That would not turn out well.
You know what I'm saying? Mom, I don't like you giving me whooping. Well, you know that whooping's going to help Joe develop and grow into a nice young man.
Right.
You know, well, I don't want to go to school. If you allow a kid to do what they like or don't like, you're going to develop a kid that thinks they can do whatever they want to later on, have no work ethic.
That's not how life works. It's not how you become successful in anything.
No, so you got to, that's what I would really get at. If you know it's going to help them, make them do it. Make them do things they don't want to do, because ultimately in the end, they'll turn around and thank you. I bet you thanked your parents.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of things that I've done, and just going into, you know, my career in the military, you know, the short time I've, you know, been out of West Point and going to, you know, my most recent school is Ranger School, is that just being comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was something that I developed really early. And you know, that mindset of having to hunker down and do something I don't want to do, even though I know it's gonna, you know, pay off in the end, or, you know, just doing something that makes me uncomfortable, but being comfortable in that situation, in that kind of state of having to do something.
Now say that again. Comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
That's really good. I mean, did they teach all that, or just kind of have to learn that phrase, or?
No, so I forgot who told me that phrase, but I heard it somewhere a while ago. But it was something that stuck with me, because there's a lot of things, lifting, you know, pushing your body.
That's
to get stronger.
That's not comfortable.
No,
but you got to get used to it.
Right.
You got to get comfortable doing it.
Right. And you know, when you think about
whether it's good for you or not.
Right. And in football, a lot of times you may be put into a position that you may be uncomfortable, but you have to be comfortable operating that situation. You know, sometimes playing a big game, you know, Army Navy, for instance, when you have a sold out NFL stadium, there may be some situations that you may, in some sorts, feel in over your head, or there may be a situation that you haven't seen, a new formation if you're on defense, a new defense if you're on offense.
That can be applied for all through life.
Anything in life, anything you do. In the military, a lot of times, you know, your guys in combat, there's going to be a lot of different variables you can't control, and things, you know, the enemy has to say. And just when you're playing sport, your opponent has to say. They're not always going to do what you plan for them to do. And that's just being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is part of learning how to adjust, adapt, and overcome. And that's something that's a skill you learn. And it's a foundation you kind of build and you develop over time.
I think a story I tell people, comfortable being uncomfortable. That's Joe's phrase. You at the Army, West Point, not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Right.
And I don't know, because I've never been in a military situation in my entire life. I watched Full Metal Jacket. That's about as much military as I've gone through. You know, my grandfather was in World War I. Another grandfather was in World War II. My dad was in the Vietnam War. So I've had veterans. My parents have been all in the wars. Or not my parents, my family's generations. A story I'll tell people is that when you got to West Point, you didn't have any social connection. You didn't have a phone. You didn't have anything. You had to go through how long was basic when you first got there? 4 weeks?
I think it was like a
it's different for athletes.
It's different for athletes. It's 6 weeks long. I forget that's going through beach barracks. But the athletes, I know we do. It's varied between 4.5 to 5 weeks. For us, we get pulled out for a fall camp, because we started fall camp for football.
Because you got to go do your sport.
Right. So it was 4.5. I think 4 weeks for us. But it was a wake up call, and it was, like you said, it was no phone. It goes back to the old school ways of just writing letters.
Writing letters. And this is what I tell people is that you wrote your parents a letter. You wanted to come home.
Yeah.
And it did not get home to your parents until you were done. And by that time you were done, you were like, might as well stay here now. Right?
Yeah. No, I do remember that. It was my first kind of taste of the military and kind of that lifestyle. And it wasn't that it was too hard. It was that situation. I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I was used to being yelled at. I'd been yelled at before, but I was doing a lot of things, facing a lot of fears that I was very uncomfortable doing.
You survived. You're alive.
Yeah, I survived them alive, and even in Ranger School, you don't have a phone. It goes back to old school writing letters. You get a few times to make calls on payphones throughout your time.
Payphones?
Yeah.
So I bet your kids don't even know what a freaking payphone is.
Right. So I mean,
they wouldn't even know how to dial on that thing.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, it takes you back, and it reminded me. I remember going through Ranger School, and I had a very similar moment where I was like, I don't want to be here. But at the same time,
you did that at Ranger School?
Yep. I had that same moment, and I sat there and I was like, I've been here before. I look back to when I was in Beast Barracks. I look back to when I was doing things for football, and it was so many things, so many memories. I could look back at hard times that I was fighting that mental battle of I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. And you learn how to just push forward and drive forward, and then you get comfortable being in that place of discomfort. And you push through it, and you get it done, and you look back on it, and it's one of those things where at the time you look at it, you laugh about. Because when I look back on some situations, I look back at the prowler when I'd be on the ground being dramatic. Sometimes here lifting.
You weren't dramatic. I forgot about
very dramatic.
You're dying.
I look back at so many times where things that seemed so bad to me at that time.
How come I can't remember this? I got videos on old cameras somewhere.
Oh yeah, there's footage. There's footage somewhere.
Oh man, I used to have that camera out all the time.
I know. There's so many times I can look back on.
If they would have had Instagram and all that crap, and
oh man, I'd be laughed at.
Y'all have been famous.
Oh yeah,
y'all have been famous before you even got started.
Oh yeah, it would have probably been immediately somewhere the way I was acting. But you just look back on all those times and you look at those moments and you kind of laugh at yourself, but you're like, something that seems so bad in that moment, that's something that you didn't want to do in that split second. You're so happy you did it in the end, and it was something that was so minute. Something that just wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking to Allie about earlier. It's kind of like you don't want to do it, but when you're done, you're so thankful that you did it.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't believe how happy you are when you're done, but you were so miserable to even think the thought process of doing it.
Oh yeah.
And while you're in there looking forward, it seems so long, but when you look back, it was only a snap.
Yeah, and that's pretty much almost anything in life. I mean, there's always gonna be rough times and just facing some adversity, and I think it's you learn how to fight those battles. For me, I learned how to fight those battles through sports and then also through lifting, being here. And like I said, I mentioned the box jumps earlier. Mm-hmm. Those many bouts of times where there's so much doubt in your head you don't want to do it, and then when you finally do something, you feel so much gratification after it's done, and you're just like, I'm glad I did it, got it over with. And there's so many times you probably look back in your life, throughout your life as an athlete, and just in lifting, where you look back at things you've accomplished, and you look at the journey you went through to get there. And it's just that much more gratifying.
So you keep referring back to the weight room and the box jumps and the being here in the gym.
Right.
They say the gym builds character.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it kind of really helps you out, huh?
Oh yeah.
What about? Let's talk about. Since I don't know anything about military.
Okay.
You went to Army. What was it like? I don't know. What was it like when you first got there? Describe kind of getting there and having to go through that first 4.5, 5.5 weeks. What was that like?
It was just a huge.
What'd y'all do? What was it like?
It was just a huge culture shock. I mean, anything you can imagine, like an Army boot camp. You do that.
Because you didn't grow up in military brat.
No, not at all.
And
no
some of those kids grew up military.
Yeah.
And so they were like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
So and you was like, hell no.
No, it was an experience that and it was something a lot of my teammates were in the same boat as I. So a lot of times.
Because you were going there for sport.
Right. So that helped. And when you're going through it, they take you. You lose your phone. You're disconnected from the world, and you kind of. And the biggest thing that kind of hits you is that like the small subtleties of like, just being outside of that situation, just talking to people when you're eating a meal, to be able to look up and have a conversation.
Yeah, I heard a story about you. You had this y'all had a plate you had to eat off of.
Right.
They had an emblem in the middle of it?
Yeah.
I heard that you were sitting there eating, and you being Joe, just kind of clowning around like when you were younger. You're not supposed to look up until you see that emblem.
Right.
You turned your head and you said that drill instructor was in your ear like that.
Oh yeah.
Is that a true story?
No. So it's a crest at the top of your plate, and they say like stare at your crest. And like you're allowed. I think they allow you to have like maybe salt and pepper or ketchup or something. And you're not supposed to look up. Like you're not supposed to look at all. You stare at your plate. You stare at your crest. They'll tell you stare at your crest. And I remember I was eating, and I can't remember her name, but she was a drill sergeant, a former drill sergeant at the time, but she was working at West Point, and she chewed me a new one. I remember, I was just like eating. I remember looking around at my friends, like I'm chuckling, and she caught me looking, and it was a bad day for me. And she just ripped me a new one, and then I just,
Did they yell like they do on Full Metal Jacket? Is that how they talk?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, it's the Army is also evolving because the expletives were sometimes still there, but the Army itself was also evolving. With society, and a lot of the things that were acceptable to say back then aren't as acceptable.
Kind of like in the gym.
Right, aren't acceptable now. You know what I mean? So, but they do yell at you very similarly, and they scream at you and whatever they try to do to intimidate you and make you uncomfortable, pretty much.
So, would y'all have to walk on certain sides of the sidewalk and all kind of crazy horror stories you hear?
No, yeah, I mean, West Point, I mean, in any academy, Brooks can tell you he's experienced at Air Force. It's probably something similar, but, as a freshman there, it's one of those experiences where you can't talk outside to your fellow freshmen. You have to greet upperclassmen that walk by. You have to walk with your hands cupped and little fists like this every time you're outside. When you're in a building, when you're in any like the dormitories, we call them barracks, but like any of the hallways of dormitories, like you have to walk along the wall. You can't be
walking in the middle of the hallway.
Yeah, you're not allowed to walk in the middle of the hallways. You have to walk on the inside of the hallway, not even like the side of the rooms you're on. You have to walk on the inside side of the hallway, and different little rules and things and little disciplines that
Do you find yourself doing that now as you walk into a hotel?
No,
no, just kind of.
No, it's only from 1 year old at the academy, and they kind of ingrain it in your head, and they want you to build a foundation of discipline, similar to kind of how you are here, like you said. A lot of things that people do, and a lot of things that you don't realize it, but it's the same concept they use in the military. Early on, when you first get in, you're wrapped up tight. It's pretty stringent, pretty disciplined. But then as you go on, you get more leeway.
Is that just trying to weed out the people that's not really meant to be West Point people?
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, if you have no foundation of discipline yourself, how are you expected to be in charge of others?
Mm-hmm.
And then, withhold them to a standard, and because as a leader, you're supposed to be the standard. If you have no standard yourself, you can't expect someone to do something you're not doing yourself.
Yeah, so if I can't jump, I can't teach you how to jump.
Right.
Kind of, like it's
a similar aspect, yes.
Yeah, you have to be willing to go through the steps in order to be a leader.
Right.
All they're basically doing is growing military people, teaching you how to lead.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah, and I think for me, whether you even realize it or not, me working here at the gym, because I remember being that knucklehead and being on the other side of things, and I remember when I was that teacher, trying to lead those guys who were, trying to help you out with the group. I remember kind of seeing both sides of the spectrum.
Because you were a little weenie.
I was.
Then you started helping little weenies, and you said, "Oh, I understand kind of what Jared's going through."
Right, and then that kind of helps, because naturally, obviously, I didn't have a choice. I kind of got my act together in the gym, and I took it more seriously. And then when you look back, it kind of helped me gain perspective, and I understood how they were thinking when I was their age. So that's just kind of the same aspect of like you understand what it feels like to be in those shoes, so you understand how to relate to those people, and also lead those people and get them to do. That's a part of leadership, is understanding how to get people to do something they may not want to do or think they can do, and it helps push you to those limits. Sometimes whether it's the military or whether it's lifting, you've been there when you first started lifting, and it's kind of helped people get in that mindset of pushing those limits and doing things they didn't think they could do.
How did they? I guess you'd have to kind of grow up through it to figure out how to get people. Because I still struggle with trying to help the younger ones, because they just look at me. I'm old.
Right.
I'm not really old, but to them I'm old.
Right.
It's just kind of like, I try to sit there and, all right, if you do this, this happens. But sometimes when you're so young, you can't really see past today.
Right.
As you get older, you can understand kind of where your parents come from. You can see more into the future now that you're older.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you can't go back. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I definitely see where you're coming from with that. And I think with the younger generation of the athletes that are coming through here, I think it is helpful to have sometimes seeing like what they would look like in a few years as a senior or a freshman in college, and having some athletes that have come up through the program with you help out. So I think that helped for a lot of kids. I'm like, hey, I remember being there your age. Like, this is what it looked like. This is what you can be.
I think that's what helps. Like when you have you and like Brooks and like Cody.
Right.
You can relate to the kids better because you were already there, and you're not that much older than they are.
Right.
but you have a certain level of strength where they respect you.
Right. Because if you can't, I mean, no kid's gonna respect you if you can't back up what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that was, for me, that was a big thing with watching when you were coaching us. A big thing with you is that I would see you work out, and I would say, okay, like he's.
Yeah, I'm not just telling y'all to do stuff. I'm actually
Right.
doing it with y'all.
Exactly, and I think that's a big thing is that you test out a lot of things that you want us to go through. You test it out before, you test out yourself before you even put us through, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, because if I told them, like, at Clayton State, I sports performance director there.
Right.
So I'm in charge of all the basketball guys and girls and 12, 13 other sports.
Right.
And I had a hard time. I'm just a new guy coming in. Never had a strength and conditioning program before. They just kind of listen to the sport coaches.
Right.
And these basketball guys, I come in there doing something totally different than what their sport coach is doing. I was treating, the sport coach wanted me to treat the weight room as a conditioning tool. And no, the weight room's a physical performance tool. We need to make sure that these guys are faster, they jump higher, and that they're stronger.
Right.
It's your job to teach them how to play basketball, because I don't have a clue how to play basketball.
Right.
I just know the ball goes in the basket. And I picked up a basketball one day, and they go, "Coach, man, you got to put that down. You don't look right." I said, "But hey, I want to see you shoot it." And they had to drill me for a little while off of that. But what happened was I started pushing them on the jump. They weren't allowed to leave the weight room until they beat their jump. But what started it all is I out-jumped every one of them. And so for me to come in there, out-jump an entire basketball team, and I proved it to them. And they started listening. Then once they started listening, then they started and I wouldn't allow them to leave the weight room. They started going up in their numbers. And then all of a sudden had guys that were not jumping hardly at all. Now they're jumping 8, 10 inches higher. And they start listening. And so it's just kind of like that respect level. Like you saw me lifting, so
Right.
I was practicing what I was preaching.
Right.
And then when they saw that I could out-jump them, they thought that's not right. What are you doing? Are you cheating them out? I said, look, let me tell you something. How do you expect me to teach you how to jump if I can't jump myself? You know, if I can teach myself how to do it, then I can teach you.
Right.
You know, sometimes you may have learned this as helping out here. You knew how to do what I was telling you, but when you try to teach someone, it's also a different side of the ball game too, right?
Yeah, because you have to find a way to, because you know,
Communicate to them.
Everyone, basically articulate it, because everyone kind of processes things differently, and there's certain keys, certain words that trigger people differently, and that was something that I had to work through to figure out. And I kind of saw your side of things, and I was like, "Dang, this is kind of hard." Like, especially like some of these little kids.
Doing the work's not hard, but trying to teach a kid how to do the work.
Oh yeah, teaching the work is a whole different game.
And that's what I'll try to get some of the older people to go teach the younger people now, that they understand why I do certain things a certain way. So that's pretty good to see. Now, we'll talk all day. Let's go. What was it like playing at the Army-Navy game? You remember, what was your first Army-Navy game like? Do you remember it?
Yeah, that was actually, I think
Hey,
that was,
just for the record, Joe's the reason Army's been so successful this past couple of years. They've been beating Navy, what, 3-4 years in a row?
Yeah, it's been 3 years. My senior year was the first year, and it's just a culture change with, shout out to Coach Munkin and that staff, man. They've got a culture change in the Army, and it's a different place from when he first came in my sophomore year. But my first start as an Army football player was the Army-Navy game.
Oh, that's got to be.
It was a late injury to a guy that was in front of me. I was a backup. I was playing a lot of reps, but my first actual start happened late in the season. He found out he wasn't going to be cleared to play the Army-Navy game. My first start was Army-Navy as a sophomore. And I had a pretty big role that game. I had a few receptions, a couple carries, and it was I remember just the nerves in that game for me were unreal, especially because knowing the year before I didn't even dress out for the game, and then that next year I was starting in the Army-Navy game, so it was unreal. And you look up and you see a stadium full of people, and it's a sold out NFL stadium. Yeah, it's a sold out NFL stadium, and and when you go to West Point, you go to play any of the academies, the first thing they ask you, like, are you going to beat Navy? Are you going to beat Army? Are you going to beat Air Force? Like, that's and everywhere, even above the urinal.
It don't matter about anybody else on there. There's about the other academies.
But I think above every doorway, every urinal in our locker room, every doorway we cross, there's a beat Navy sign, and it's something that's ingrained in your head, and that was an unreal feeling, and it was exciting. As much as it was exciting, it was nerve wracking. But like I tell I would tell like the young athletes, or when I was a GA or when I was even a player, young guys in my position room that I knew were going to be playing a lot of snaps. I said, hey man, it's all hype, and it's it's televised, people are watching, but I said after that first tackle, after that first hit, after that first time you hit the grass, it's just another football game.
Yeah, just another day in the dirt.
Yeah, and you don't even, and for me, that's what it was. The nerves before the game were huge. I think I had my first carry, and I took a lick or something like that. I took a pretty good hit. And after that, I got up and I was like, well, it's just a football game.
Like, just doing the plays.
Yeah, I was like,
what are we going to do next?
At the end of the day, like, it's like all these people are watching, but like at the same time, it's still about these 22 guys.
Yeah, after that first snap, you forget about the crowd. You forget about the hype. You forget about all this other stuff. You just do your job.
Completely forgot about it. I mean, it was cool to come back and you see your parents and your people on the stands cheering for you. You watch the game after, but during that time, man, it's just playing ball. It's just doing whatever you're doing, because all that extra noise kind of goes away. You don't really think about when you have a ball in your hands, and you're going to make a block or do whatever. You're not thinking about people's watching. You're focused on what's going on there, and it just turns into another game, pretty much.
Just football.
Yeah,
and sometimes as average people like me, you're just kind of looking at the football game. The hype's more than what we hype it up to be, more than what it is as a player.
Yeah.
The winning's important.
Absolutely. I mean, that's.
But I guess if you've ever played organized sports, is after you get a play or two under your belt, you're doing the same thing you did last week, and you can do the next week.
Yeah.
Now, how exciting was it when y'all finally? Now, how long had Navy won?
I think it was 14 years.
Finally knocked them off.
Yep, my senior year.
Way to go out, huh?
Those
years walking by that beat Navy sign. Beat Navy.
It was a hell of a way to go out, and not only did we do that, we went and won a bowl game right after. So it was amazing.
That kind of started the wins and stuff. Huh?
And it was our first winning season in a while.
I know, because we used to wax Shaw. I played at Memphis. But you got to throw that in there.
You can throw that in there. I mean, Memphis.
But now it's different ball. But now it's different year, different conferences.
Right, and you saw what happened. When Navy played. When West Point played somebody from else conference, Navy beat y'all, didn't they?
Yeah. And
we beat Navy, and then we went and embarrassed Houston 70-14. So it's a different culture, and I think a big part of that was
the coaching staff.
The coaching staff, and a huge part of that was the weight room. A huge part of that was Coach Tim Karen and his staff. They came in and they changed the face of our weightlifting program, and also just in general. They took a big part of it was strength performance. Testing work was doing those things.
So they started testing and doing a lot more stuff toward the end. When you got a new strength staff.
Yeah, we did a lot of testing, and a lot of those things, and
make sure that all the work y'all were doing was producing something.
A lot of the same principles that I noticed in your gym were carried over, and like you said, with the they actually marked down what we did with different lifts. They would record how we did that day, and then they would they would mark the notations on our workout sheets. And then they would see how we did the week before, and they would adjust how they did off we did off the week before. And sometimes they would adjust numbers and tweak things. And that was something you were doing years before. Yeah. And when we got there, they did the same thing, and it was like dividends were being paid. They paid off there, and I think our team, the strength, the attitude we took in the weight room was competing like you did. We had records and we had things, and we used to compete. They made tallies, and they would go on the board in the locker room, and you'd see. Yeah, they were allowing you to see the progress, which helped you want to work more. Absolutely. It's a lot easier to work harder when you know progress is behind it. Exactly, and it transcended to the field. And that's what Allie said. She went to Chattanooga, and she said once they changed their strength staff and they had a person that was a little bit more intense and had a little bit more performance-oriented stuff, they went from not winning to winning the conference. Yep. You're kind of like what you just said. And we went from... And you're kind of ingrained with that high school crap, stuff like you got to go get in the weight room, get stronger. You're always ingrained with it. Right. But you see, it's really true the older you get. Yeah, and these programs are evolving. Some high school programs are evolving. They're getting better. Yeah, some of these high school programs. I mean, I think East Coweta's got 18 racks now. Yeah. And they got TVs, which have all their stuff on it. So they're becoming more. These high schools are becoming more like college weight rooms when I was in college. Yeah. And they're starting to, some of these weight rooms are starting to come around, and people are starting to take the weight room a lot more serious. And the thing is, it was a lot of the functional mobilities that we were doing with lifting. And we had the same jumping mats we use here. We had those in college. And I remember we would come in, and they would, you stretch for a little bit, and you would test your standing vertical in the locker room. right in front of everybody. And if you had a good score, they'd yell. And if you had a bad one, they'd yell, and everyone would know. And so it was a lot of the same similar stuff, and they weigh you in, and you do a lot of similar things. And I think those things kind of carried over. It was things that you were doing that I was used to that just carried on to college, and I think that same mentality carried in the weight room, and also just coupled with our coaching staff. It was a culture of winning and competing to win. And every time, no matter what you were doing it to win. And we started to take that attitude on the field, and now they're just running with it.
Now, you grew up super weedy here, young kid, ended up coaching here, helping me. You went to Army, a little scrub again, ended up coaching, being a GA.
Yep.
That's kind of, you went from the bottom of the totem pole to the top of the totem pole, went back to the bottom, went to the top. And now, how was it from experience of the coaching? You were a GA for Army. You started coaching the running backs, right? How was the coaching experience versus the playing experience?
You gain appreciation for the coaching staff and the things they do.
You don't really, do you realize how much work goes in as a coaching staff, as a player?
No. As a player, you show up and you work out, you go to practice, you watch film, and you go back. And then you're in that cycle, but
you can really understand why the coaches yell at you, because you're probably sitting there breaking down the film and trying to draw up these plays. We're going to do this in practice, and you know it, and you know how much work goes behind it. And you did all this work, and this one kid has this one assignment. They can't get that right. That's why coaches are real pissed real quick, because they know they spent so much time, and you can't figure out. I did all this, and you can't figure out this one thing.
And you see the amount of repetitions a kid will do, and you watch kids, and when you watch film, you break down film, you'll see the same kid do what they were supposed to do right 20 times, and then they go out and they just have a bonehead moment, and then do the complete opposite, and then you just wonder why. So I mean, like I said, coaching, it was a super fun experience. I learned a lot about the other side of coaching, and I have a greater appreciation for what those college coaches do. They put a tireless amount of work and effort into the kids, and developing the players and getting prepared for each game. And that was interesting to see, because for me, in my perspective, I was just I had a very different perspective of coaches before then. And being a GA, kind of experiencing that, it was I saw a whole different side of things. It was kind of like I was with you. I've been that player, and then for me, it also helped because being so recently being a player, for me, a lot of those moments, those mental blocks sometimes players would have, those some things they would go through. I remember being in those shoes, and I could kind of give them a tidbit or anecdotal kind of thing of how
you dealt with the situation.
How I dealt with that situation. So that helped me as a coach, and it also gave me a different perspective on things. Like it did when I was working here at the gym. It's just all about perspective sometimes. And it was really refreshing for me, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. It gave me a similar feeling of giving back to something that gave so much to me.
Yeah.
Like it was working here. It was kind of a similar feeling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we had Coach Cal, Kentucky coach, when I was in Memphis. Memphis went to the national championship, all sadly to the Jayhawks. But he was always on sideline, or most of the time on sideline with us at Memphis. I was, as a player, we got access to different athletic facilities. I wish, as a player, once you had the experience and something I didn't get to do, I wish I paid attention to how the coaches coach. If I would have went and watched, if I could take me now, I'd love to go watch Cal coach, just to see how they're coaching, how they're manipulating, how they're getting players to do stuff they don't want to do, kind of like what you said earlier.
Right.
And why the football coaches, when I was at Memphis, why they did or had us do certain things at certain times. I would like to see why, or how they coach, how they got us to do these different things. Because I didn't learn that, but you got that opportunity as being a GA. That's kind of an experience that I always wanted, but now I'm too old. But I guess when I'm not too old, I can go do anything I want to do if I connect with the right people.
It's never just too late to learn. I mean, sometimes it's just being a fly on the wall and just watching. Because that was a lot of what I did was, as a GA, sometimes I was doing a lot of the busy work that coaches didn't feel like doing, and sometimes I was just a fly on the wall and just watching it, just picking, just mentally making notes and kind of picking the brains of coaches. It was a cool experience, and it's some things that I've applied to my military career, because in the position of medicine officer, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to lead others and essentially get them to do some things they may not think they can do.
But you turned out. I tell Donna and tell your mom, you went from a kid that don't talk, now you're a leader. Yeah. I mean, you didn't talk. Now your personality is like way up here, really good, and you're able to lead, and you're able to voice your opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think helped with all this stuff that you've done all this time?
It's just a combination of things. You know,
because before you would come in and you talk, now you stand up like this. Now you talk. Used to you'd be kind of like hiding in your own shadow.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was just, you know, I think whether I looked at it as a professional career or not, I think working here.
You think you still throw it back to working here, huh?
Yeah,
explosive mechanics.
No, explosive mechanics gave me a base. I mean, because not only was I working here, also I mean there was parents here watching.
Yeah.
And as like a, you know, I wanted to be that role model for other kids, and I didn't want to represent you badly, because at the same time as I was like, it was representing something bigger than myself, and that's something that I carried on to going to West Point, and I think West Point helped develop me a lot in my leadership style, and a lot of things. I took a lot of classes and did a lot of studying on things, and kind of got into the mind of, you know, being a leader,
being a professional,
being professional in what you do.
Get out of your own shell and lead. Because anybody can. Well, I don't say anybody can do it, but you can do it if you want to.
Right. Honestly, I think leaders can be created. To how great a leader can be is solely dependent on them. But I think you can create a certain level to someone can lead others. To how successful they can lead others, that may vary depending on the person and what they want to do.
Yeah, it's all personality too, right?
Part of it's personality, but I mean, part of it's just understanding. You know, understanding how to put on that hat and do what you're supposed to do in that position. Because I mean, a lot of times, a big role for me was putting on the hat of not being, because a lot of those players that I was coaching, those are guys I was sharing the locker room with, that I was just joking around with the season before.
Yeah, how'd you flip that switch from coaching to player relationship? You know, like that's kind of like when your sisters, I'll go back to that story earlier, as to where I was always playing around with them. Then when I wanted to lead them, I had a lot of kickback from them, but they're the ones that taught me, hey, look, you got to put on that professional hat. So from their time, that wave, once that wave passes, next wave of kids come through. You got to come here. Look, this, and I don't really create a whole lot of conversation until they earn my conversation respect.
Yeah,
you know, because they didn't know that when I say this, we're going to go. But hey, there's time. You got to be able to turn that light off and on.
Right, and that was a big thing for me.
So how did you do that?
It was a big thing for me, and it was I had some mentors in the military while I was at West Point, and you find out your GA pretty much at the end of the season, and so the whole off season I was kind of working as in the GA role already. Was still a student, obviously, but I was working more towards the GA role. And me being an officer, and that was a crossover from me no longer being a cadet to being a commissioned officer in the Army. And when you're an officer in the Army, you're no longer a cadet, you're treated differently. And expectations, there are certain expectations of you as an officer in the Army. And so for me, that was a big shift, because my same drinking buddies can't necessarily be my drinking buddies anymore. Because now I'm no longer a fellow cadet. Like, I'm an officer and I have a duty and an obligation.
You almost go from being a kid to a parent.
Right. And so I had that duty and obligation to kind of separate those two roles, and to maintain that professionalism. And I didn't. And the thing was that they understood who I was, and I was still their friend. But at the same time, there was a professional on a professional hat.
Be professional.
Right.
You know, you're in control of that situation.
Right.
You know you have to be a professional. Act like it.
Right.
And that's what you did.
And it's just a time and a place for everything, and something. It took me a while to develop it. And I think my second semester as a senior, that's kind of when I kind of made that transition. And then from there on in, like, it's an interesting role, because the freshmen that don't know you, they just see you as an officer, and they're like, oh, sir, and they're scared to talk to you. But then it's the same guys that were a year behind you, they're now seniors, and they're like, oh, that's just Joe. And there were guys that would be like, you know, guys that when I would talk to them and coach them, they'd be looking at me like, coach, I'm the coach that's gonna be like, you're kicked off the team, but really I'm just a GA. But it's interesting seeing that dynamic between, you know, you got the freshmen just come in and they're like, every word you say, they're hanging on it like that's gonna get them a starting spot. And then you got seniors that, like, I've played with them long enough, they see me play, they know what I do, so they still respect what I'm saying, but it's not as much as like a hanging on every word, but it's like a different relationship.
Yeah.
And it's just a professional.
Kind of like that wave thing I was talking about.
Right.
You once that people up under you just get kind of out, then you're rolling off to another.
Right, and it's kind of the same thing you said. It's like you set that foundation, and it develops over time, and you know it's just setting the tone, and you know you can understand that, hey, I didn't know your personality, and it's just it's your style, the way you want to lead people, but understanding that base of, you know, the work professionalism, that there's a fine line. It's important, And that was something I had to develop, and I developed as a player and as a GA. And I had to, that was something that early on, whether I realized or not, it comes back to explosive mechanics.
Oh, damn, this gym.
this dang gym, man, it came back to the same role when I was, there's some guys I would work out with the guys, and, the high school class, and at the same time, when I was helping with the middle school group, I had to turn off that, I'm not just Joe in the gym working out here, I'm, your instructor, I'm a teacher, I'm somebody that's working, I'm an extension of Jared as a coach here to help, better you as an athlete. And that was a role I had to kind of differentiate. And, sometimes that line, I wasn't as good at it back then, sometimes it blurred, but for the most part, I was able to do it successfully. And I feel like I was able to, help you out around the gym, and hopefully. That was something that really, I didn't realize it. When I think back on it now, that was a skill I started to develop a lot earlier on than I even realized now I think about it. But that was something I practiced in high school that I essentially had to just do all over again.
Yeah, it's kind of like the total pole thing, from bottom to top, from bottom to top now.
But just a cycle.
We realize everything comes in cycles, everything's in waves.
Yeah.
And whether you realize or not, when you first came back, the first time I saw you after you started Army, you came back, you walked in here as a professional. You walked in here like, not that shy kid that kind of just walked off the side, because like when you're a parent, your mom probably still sees you as a little kid. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's hard. You're going to be a dad, and you'll understand. It's like when your little baby grows up, they're 21 years old, you're still thinking, no, you need to go read your book, make sure you brush it, you're trying to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
It's hard, but then I was like, man, that dude changed.
Yeah.
I was like, I was really happy for you. So I thought that, I said, man, this is just, I guess the amazing part about my job is I been around people like you long enough that have gone through the gym and see, like, I guess you and Allie were talking about kids not have babies.
Yeah.
Y'all gone from this little kid to this amazing thing.
Yeah.
But again, it still goes back to your parents made you do stuff you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
You grinded when you didn't want to.
Yeah.
And then you got to see the perspective of different things. You lived, you've learned from the gym, and you passed it on to others.
Right.
You did that here, then you started the same thing in Army.
Yeah.
Now, what's it like? You're a Ranger now, right?
Yep, just graduated Ranger School December 14th. So
what's Ranger School? What for people that don't know?
So it's a school that
it's a special operations force, right?
So there's a difference. So Ranger School is
pretty damn tough.
It's pretty tough. For me, it wasn't that physically tough. Just given my background of being a college athlete and lifting heavy things is my base of strength. Because sometimes you're carrying loads of a backpack that's over 100 pounds.
So that strength really helped the Ranger School in the end.
Right. So
strength's a bad thing, people.
It's a terrible thing. It can help a lot of things. It's a terrible thing. But no, it's a school that's based on small unit tactics and just learning how to operate in the most austere environment. Whether it be pretty much any weather conditions that is not a super safety hazard. Like obviously if it's a lightning storm, they take those in consideration. But they deprive you of sleep, they deprive you of food.
Yeah, let's talk. You was talking about as much as you can. I know some of that stuff y'all do is classified. You can't tell. What about you? Going to talk about? Can you talk about your hand?
Yeah. So it was an infection called impetigo. It was
flesh-eating disease, right?
Yeah, it's not a. It gets exaggerated to that, but it's just a bacteria that if it gets in an open wound, it won't allow it to heal, and there's like a clear secretion that comes from it, and if it gets anywhere else, it can cause sores that'll start spreading into those scabs, and they'll continue to spread and cause sores all over your skin. And all I did was get an antibacterial little ointment put on there, knocked it out for 2 or 3 days. But no, Ranger School they deprive you of sleep, and obviously they deprive you of food. You usually eat twice a day.
What's the meals like?
The meals ready to eat. They're like little prepackaged meals.
Are they those things you see at the Army Navy store?
Yeah, they're like little. They come in like round plastic bags.
What do they call it? MRE?
Meals ready to eat, MREs. Yeah. And there's actually Ranger School taught me there's a lot of amazing things you can do with those that make it pretty good. Everybody ever wants to talk about that, but no, I mean they deprive you of food and
you learn how to survive
and sleep. And the thing is, you'd be amazed. And like you said, it's when I mentioned being comfortable, being uncomfortable, you'd be amazed at what your body can do and what you can push your body to do.
But you got to go to school, like Ranger School, to teach that to you, right? Because they're not going to let you die.
No. And
were you in the woods hugging snakes?
No. Now there were a few guys. There were cases of guys talking to trees. There were some guys who were literally talking to a tree, like it was a person. People.
They say when you're sleep deprived, you start hallucinating.
Yeah, some
people. You know, it's just almost like being drunk.
Yeah.
Sometimes being sleep deprived is worse than being drunk and driving a car.
Yeah, they actually, while you're in Ranger School, you're not allowed to drive a vehicle. Yeah. Because of that issue, even when you come out, you get like a few passes at the end of your graduation, or you're allowed to go with your family 2 days prior to graduation, and they don't allow you to drive because of that fact of you've been deprived of sleep for so long. And there's a guy that
What's sleep deprived? How long would you go without sleep? They tell you hours, or they just kind of how do they keep you awake? Like I know Donna cusses me out when I'm sitting on the couch and we're watching a TV show. 30 minutes later, I'm gone. How do they keep you awake?
So I mean, you're just doing different things. You know, whether
are you always working during that time, or do you get time to sit down and next to a tree and take a short nap, or is it
a lot of times you're pulling security. So you're laying on your stomach or you're on a knee with your rucksack on, and you're just like pulling security.
How do you stay awake if I lay on my stomach with a 100-pound sack on my back? I'm going to sleep.
I mean, if you don't want to, I mean, some people naturally.
But is that point to where if you sleep, you die?
No.
They don't put you on those extreme situations. Kind of like like when you gotta. You know,
so I mean,
see how much I don't know.
No, yeah. So I mean, there was a few events. There was one day where we didn't sleep at all. We were doing a mission. We came back after the mission. We stopped, made sure we had all our equipment. Did like a small AAR, which is like an after action review, which is you just talk about how the mission went. And then we started marching along, and then one time we kept walking, and we were walking till daylight, literally.
How do those feet hold up? Blisters?
I mean, my feet were pretty good.
You think being at West Point helped with the feet before you get to all these little steps that you took kind of really helped get you?
Yeah, I mean, there's training.
You think you go to Ranger School? You couldn't go to Ranger School straight out of high school, could you?
No.
And survive.
I mean,
mentally.
There's schools and different things to build you up for Ranger School mentally and different things. I mean, I graduated with a 19-year-old. Mm-hmm. He was a kid that was fresh out of high school. He went to basic training, went to OSIT. I was at his unit for a few months, and they sent him to Ranger School. I mean, there's different levels, and there's also different expectations of what like roles you take. So
you got on tennis shoes, you got on boots.
Right. So you know you have boots, but like me as an officer, I was a lot of times expected I was given like either a platoon sergeant, a higher level role, leadership role, mm-hmm. and graded in that position, and he was graded at a lower position.
But that probably helps with your mentality, knowing that you're supposed to be that leader, so you know you're not.
Absolutely, but
you want to lead by example.
Absolutely, but every ranger is expected to be a leader.
Yeah,
and that's something they're ingrained in you because at every point, every person that's going through the school will be in a leadership position at some point. Mm-hmm. And that's part of what the school is built. It's considered to be a leadership school, and what they want to see is you're able to lead others and get people to do what they want to do and complete a mission when people haven't slept for. You know, in the past week, they slept an hour a night, a total of 4 hours in the past 5 days.
4 hours and 5 days?
4 hours and 5 days sometimes. There's been times, I remember they told us, you know, hey, lay down and go to sleep, and they woke us up in 15 minutes. We slept for 15 minutes.
If I did 4 hours, 5 days, I guarantee you that pillow would be walking around and dancing.
It's crazy some things you experience. It was a point where in mountain phase, I was so sleepy that, you know, we'd be walking and we would stop for 10 seconds. Like it'd just be a backup and you run to the person in front of you, stop. And I'll close my eyes to blink and then I wake up and the person's almost 100 yards in front of me. And you know, one of the ranger instructors waking up like, wake up Ranger. And you just like, what just happened? And then you just walk forward. Like
you're that tired you don't even know where you are.
Yeah, some people, I've fallen asleep walking.
Fallen asleep walking?
I fell asleep walking. There was a mission. I laid down to pull security and I fell asleep within 30 seconds. And they were looking for him for the next 25 minutes. They cleared the objective and left. And they were like, they took a count and they were like, where's Walker? We're missing Ranger Walker. And then they found me 25 minutes later. Like it's pretty extreme sometimes. There's times where you're really.
Are they punish you if you fall asleep like that, or kind of what happened?
Yeah, so they have spot reports. You can get spotted out of the school if you get too many of those.
Oh, so you get kicked out. You get kicked out of school.
Yeah, for that. If you fall asleep too many times, and you don't want to. And the thing is, sometimes the grade of that person in leadership will, you know, suffer because of you falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's just all about teamwork, and you don't want to let
So if you're 10 and you fall asleep, you may go down to 8. Something like that, not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. So like, there's just different grades, and like so if
you're graded on how you perform.
So if you're asleep, you're not pulling security.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone's in charge of security on the area, and 5 people and 2 or 3 people in the squad are asleep, and he's not on top of that, therefore you're not achieving the objective of pulling security, keeping security of the area. So then that person who's in leadership may suffer, their grade may suffer. Mm-hmm. And at the end of every cycle, there's peer evaluations. And the people you're in your squad with, they can grade you, and like they rank from first to last and make comments on different areas. And
ultimately to help you though.
And you can get peered out of the course. If you're a guy that falls asleep a lot, and
because you're not going to be effective, especially when you go into real life situations.
Exactly. If you're that scumbag that's like you're always falling asleep, you're never awake, you're costing people grades, we can write that down, and you can get peered out of the course.
Yeah, because you're ultimately going to be in charge of someone's life later on. If you're asleep, someone's dying.
Right, and that's the thing is that they try to. That's the closest.
They're trying to weed you out, whether you are or whether you're not a leader.
Absolutely. And in the course, they say Ranger School is the closest simulation you get to a real combat situation of actually being on a mission for over 72 hours or 48 hours, where in an area where there's a hostage, someone's trying to there's the enemy out there and they're shooting at you, and you're getting bombs and indirect fire coming at you.
They shooting paintball guns or shooting real guns?
It's real guns. So you're not sleeping, and when pulling security is a real thing. Yeah. And you're really looking to see if there's someone out there that if you fall asleep, you falling asleep while you're on security, can get you and the guy next to you shot in the face.
Have you been in situations where people beside you been shot, or have you not been there yet?
No, I haven't seen combat.
It's pretty rough, ain't it?
No, and I've talked to guys that've been in combat, and some guys lost some of their best friends. And when you get those guys in Ranger School, they take it that much serious. They're like, hey man, like this seems like something so simple because we're just using blank rounds. And when we're doing objectives, it's just blank rounds. You hear noises, bang, bang. But in real life,
they put you in situations where you actually heard gunfire and stuff like that, trying to get you.
Yeah, so I mean, the blank rounds you're hearing, like when you hear a 240 Bravo, which is a machine gun, that thing's loud. Sometimes when the enemy, they would give the enemy a situation where they would have that weapon, hearing that shooting back at you is not fun. And
so you got the experience that gun shooting at you?
Oh yeah, you hear it. It's not real rounds. You just hear like the blank rounds. They just make noise. But the sound of that weapon not being on your side, when you hear it coming from over there, and you're like, that's aimed at us. It's a different feeling. And
I bet you wake up then.
And there's different military trainings. I've done trainings. I've done shoot houses where they use paint simulator rounds. Mm-hmm. They have little, you can change the inner workings of the weapon, but you're using your same weapon, and they shoot paint rounds and those hurt. And it's real. They don't feel good at all. So you get that kind of experience of actually, the repercussions of not using cover, getting behind something, and not doing the smartest things in those situations. But I think Ranger School was a great experience. It's again, it was a gut check. We were operating in some of the worst conditions. I remember it raining so hard you couldn't see 10 feet in front of you. But the mission still had to be completed, and it had to get
Did you
done.
talk about the little missions?
Yeah, so a lot of times you do.
What was that mission like? They had to be completed when it was raining so hard. I mean, you was out there.
Where was
this at? Where was this Ranger School? Where'd you
So there's 3 phases. There's a phase at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay.
There's a phase that's in Dahlonega, Georgia, where you're in the mountains.
Okay.
And then there's a phase down in Florida in the swamps, in the Panhandle, down at Eglin Air Force Base, deep off in the corner. And so you get 3 phases, like
Is each phase a month?
Each phase is
30 days?
phase is I think it's not a month. It's about like 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 62-day course. Mm-hmm. If you go straight through, but I recycled the Florida phase, so I had to do it twice because I failed both my patrols the first time I went to Florida, and then made me do the Florida phase again.
Oh, you're there longer than you needed to be?
Longer than I needed to be. But they do say only real Rangers recycle.
That recycle is a heck of an experience. It's almost like getting to redo a class you screwed up in.
Yeah, but it's a humbling experience, but it's something that Ranger School is not fun.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do it again. So it's one of those things where it's like it's a mental battle within yourself, and it builds resiliency, and the fact that you have to recoup and if I fail this again, I'm going home. Mm-hmm. And then you're just like, did I waste all these days for nothing? And there's some guys that have been in school for. There was one guy that had been in school for 200 days, over 200 days, and it's a 60-day school. And and it's a different level of perseverance and just an attitude to keep driving on and learning from what you've gone through before. And there are some guys that have gone through the entire school, recycled every phase, and they get dropped from the course, and they come back the next year and do it again, so they can get their Ranger tag and actually graduate the course. And it's a school that it builds character, and it teaches you something about yourself, and it taught me something about myself, because I was breezing through the course. When I was going through, I didn't have any issues in my first phase or my second phase, and I was crushing the course.
What was the swamp phase like? I mean, where you were like, was it like really snaky?
So there were a couple of guys saw snakes out there. A lot of the times, there's like 40 plus guys. I think there was 41 guys in my platoon. So when you hear 40 people walking through a swamp, snakes kind of
get out of the way.
They don't want that issue. So, but no, some of those swamps, I mean, it was water to my chest, and you're walking with your rucksack too. So I mean, you got
you're
your
walking
rucksack.
in water up to your chest. Do you have any leech problems?
No.
Holy cow! How'd you like walking? Was that the swamp water?
Swamp water. So like
swamp water up to your chest.
You just see the mangroves, and you see the different trees. And
you got your gun over your head.
Yep, you're holding your gun like up here, over your head. Some guys have machine guns, and they're just carrying them up above the water.
That's got to be an eerie feeling walking through the swamp water.
And one of the swamps you do during the day, but one you do at night, and it's muddy. And sometimes
your snakes falling from trees.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you'll step in a mud hole that'll be up to your thigh in mud. I stepped in one. I had an adventure. I thought I was going to drown. I was terrified, and I couldn't get my leg up, and I stepped my other foot to try to get my balance, and that went into a mud hole, and I'm just in mud to my thighs. And it feels like you're in quicksand sometimes.
Did you ever experience any quicksand?
No. I mean, there is mud that if you don't know how to walk in it, you will keep sinking. As the harder you fight, the more you'll sink down. But you have to learn how to walk in it.
They teach you. Did they actually put you in it to get you out, learn how to get out of it, or is that kind of something you just, oh shit, I got to experience this on my own?
You learn on the fly. And I'll never forget it. I remember I got stuck. I was an RTO, so I was the radio guy. And I have about a 20-pound radio on my back on top of like everything I'm carrying for the mission that day. And we went through swamps, and I got stuck. And I'm panicking. I'm just sinking. I'm sinking. And I'm just like, I'm screaming. I'm splashing the water, and I'm like, somebody help me.
The radio man's out.
And then and one of the instructors goes, Ranger, is your head underwater? And I was like, no, sorry, it's not. He was like, are you drowning? And I was like, I don't think so, but I'm stuck. I can't get out. And he was like, well, suffer in silence, Ranger. Suffer in silence. And it's something.
Like, as long as your head's not in water, you suffer through it, right?
And that was something that I remember thinking at the time. I was cursing up a storm, and I was like, I couldn't believe that. I was like, they're just gonna let me die out here. Because you know, I get you mad sometimes, but it was something that.
So at points in time, you think you're not gonna make it. I mean, you're talking like water sinking, you can die.
There's some scary stuff sometimes. And you know, you conquer your fear heights, a mountain phase, you're rappelling down. There's a 200-foot rappel.
So you was one of those little crazy guys that have a rope and you just kind of get down the mountain?
Yeah, there's a 200-foot rappel.
And you didn't like heights?
Under night vision goggles, no.
You didn't like heights in high school?
No.
Now you're getting off the side of a mountain?
Nope. And there, you know, some guys, and there's, you know.
You're rappelling with night vision goggles?
Yeah. At night. It's pitch black. Like you look down, you can't see the ground. Like if you took your night vision goggles off, you can't see the ground. You're just pitch black in the darkness. You're just going down in darkness. You're just like, well.
Why don't you keep the night vision goggles?
Oh yeah, you wear them. You wear them when you go down so you can see.
No, you got them now?
Oh no.
They keep those things up there.
No, yeah, those have serial numbers. You turn those in after you use them. After every cycle, you turn those in. But no, I mean, you see these scars on my nose. That's from me being sleepy and I walked in the trees with night vision goggles on. I was just that tired. And I walk into them and night vision goggles hit my protective glasses.
That's where I was getting hit the face mask.
Yep. And there's dudes that have broken their nose. One guy broke his nose. He tripped and fell at night. Night vision goggles, broke his nose. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens. But it's a lot of different things you go through, and I think you're stronger for it. I think that's the school that builds character. You learn some things about tactics, but the big thing about the school is not to teach you tactics. It's about it's to test your leadership and see how you operate in the worst conditions possible.
Now, if you take all that knowledge that you gain, night vision goggles, breaking, getting scars on your nose, rappelling down dark, you come back here, see a little kid with a scratch on him and complain about the scratch, they have no clue, do they?
No. I mean, and even in football, man, in any sport, you see people play with broken. I've seen guys play with dislocated shoulders and popping back in place and go play. Mm-hmm. With anything, I mean, there's a lot of different things that can happen that you just got to overcome. You move forward, mm-hmm. And that's And that's the thing that Ranger School, part of the Ranger Creed is is that it's to fight on and complete the Ranger objective, even though you be the only lone survivor. And that's just what it's about. And it's just,
so you mean out of all your members in that, what do you call them?
my platoon.
Yeah, your platoon. So there's 15 of you.
There was 41 of us.
And you may be the only one standing by the time the mission's complete.
I mean,
is that kind of the motto?
That's
Get it done, even if you're the only
that's
one.
part of the Ranger Creed. Yep, that's part of the Ranger Creed. That is that the fight's never over, and no matter what the situation is, no matter what the circumstances.
What kind of things? Well, like, what would be a mission for a day? Like, let's go through a swamp mission for a day. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure. So you wake up. So wake up's like wake up at 5.
You don't wake up 10 a.m.
No, you wake up 5 a.m.
Man, what happened those days?
You're in your patrol base. You wake up at 5. Wake up at 5 a.m. for everyone, and you start your patrol base activities, which is like establishing your security perimeter. Start disseminating some information. Typically, an order will be given out, which is like a brief of the mission for the day.
Okay.
Ranger instructors will come in, brief the mission for the day. They'll give it to like the leadership of that day. So there'll be 6 people in leadership. There'll be 4 squad leaders.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a platoon sergeant and a platoon leader. And those 6 people will be graded for that mission. So they'll do the planning that morning, give the brief around noon. You step off around noon. You may have a 4 to 5 mile movement. On foot sometimes. Most times it's on foot.
How long does it take you to walk 4 or 5 miles? Do you have watches and everything on out there? Or?
I mean, you have the basic watch. You can't have any like mile tracking watches. Like any like, you can't have any watches that have GPS capability or any like other technology.
So you got to know what north, south, east, west, and all that.
You have a compass. That's about it. Which is like the typical like magnetic compass. Like you just look and it's okay. And you have your azimuth. You're like, we're going at 280 degrees for like 400 meters, and then we're gonna go this way for 500 meters. We'll walk a kilometer this way. So you walk to your objective, and then you set up, and then you hit the objective about 5, 6 o'clock, and then typically after that, they'll make sure we have all our equipment, everything's accounted for after you hit the objective. You'll talk about it for maybe 10 minutes and talk about what's going on, and then like a new leadership will be put in. So that's 6 new.
So y'all just round the clock working.
Yeah, so 6 new people are in, and then you're on to the next mission, the night mission.
They just rotate the leaders.
Yep, and then you go to a mission. So I remember one mission we had a swamp mission. We walked through the swamp onto an island. We attacked an objective with a few buildings, and then I was put in leadership, and then we had to do like a 4 mile movement at night, under dodge to another objective, to a mortar firing position to attack the enemy or whatever. And our hit time was at like 11 o'clock at night. And then we did that mission, and then we had another, then we had to move to our patrol base and be established at our patrol base by 3 a.m. And then that was another like 3 or 4 miles to walk after that, that night. And
that's one of those sleep deprivation things.
And then it's one of those sleep deprivation things. And so the thing is, like the night before the swamps is that, I think the night before we only slept maybe 30 minutes. So everyone's already kind of groggy going into that day. The swamps take a lot out of you. It's a lot. You're carrying a lot. And then also, if you think about the swamp phase is the last phase, and you've already been through the first 40 days of Ranger School. So you've been going pretty much 2 months now with little to no sleep. So that's that all starts to accrue once you get to swamp phase in Florida. And
you did the swamp phase twice?
I did swamp phase twice.
Swamp man.
I was a swamp man for a while. I became a professional at the Zodiac boats and the waterborne movements and all those kind of things.
But it probably gave you a higher skill set than some of the people who only go through once, because if you're getting it double.
Absolutely. So the second time I went through, I can pretty much tell you how the entire cycle was going to go, how everything was going to work, the timelines and everything you had to do, whether it became tying knots, setting up the boats, running the missions, kind of gaming how you want to run your missions based off the sleep deprivation and things that like the soldiers, the Rangers that basically went through. Because that was something you have to get very creative in how you do things, because you want to, most time people like to plan things, especially the military, I think you plan things around when people are fresh. And it's kind of adjusting your plan around the sleep deprivation of people being tired. Knowing that a simple task that typically may take 5 minutes to do, that takes 30 seconds to do on a normal day, may take you 20 minutes because people are that tired. And it's just
your thought process is slower, and everything else happens slower because of fatigue.
Like you can tell someone, hey, go there and take a knee, and they may walk 20 feet past it and then be lost. Because at night, it's easy to get lost.
Yeah.
And when people are asleep and half awake, they can walk 10 feet away, and they don't see anyone 10 feet around them, and then they think they're lost, and then they're walking off drowning. And drowning is when people are literally sleepwalking or just doing something, they don't realize it, and they're like just in their own world. And that happens a lot. So adjustment, it was a cool experience, a fun experience. I developed a lot of great friends. Got to meet a lot of great guys that have varying levels of military experience. I've done a lot of cool things in the military. Some, like I said, I graduated with a 42-year-old that was a sergeant major in the Army, and he was in Special Forces for 19 years and been in the Army for 22 years.
He's seen a lot of stuff.
I've seen a lot of stuff. And,
a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And then you married a 42-year-old and a 19-year-old at the same time?
Yeah, and then the 19-year-old was also a guy that was fresh out of high school.
How old are you now?
I'm 24. Exactly, I know. It's been 10 years. I know I've known you for 10 years now.
14-year-old Joe in here at the gym, now out there leading people in a real life situation.
Yep.
What's next for Walker Ranger? Ranger Walker.
Ranger Walker, man. It's I'll be going to Fort Campbell in Kentucky, just an hour outside of Nashville, and I'll be assuming my role as a platoon leader, leading a platoon, an infantry platoon. As an infantry officer, that's my branch. So if for those that are not military, it's ground troops, guys in the ground, boots in the ground kind of guys. So I'll be doing that.
What will y'all be doing in the U.S.?
We're just training. We'll pretty much be training up to deploy and just deploy anywhere we're needed.
So you can go anywhere, anytime.
Pretty much. They have a schedule ahead of time, but for the most part, I'll just be in charge of about 40 personnel, 40 infantry soldiers. At the 101st Airborne, that'll be ready to deploy and destroy the enemy. That's what we train to do. We train to go out and neutralize America's enemies. And, when we fight what we're told.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate you coming on this podcast. It's good to see you grow up and become a man.
I appreciate you having me.
Anything you like to tell? You want any social media out there? You probably don't need to do social media now.
No, I have social media. I do have an Instagram. I don't have a Twitter or anything. It's JD_walk, WALK 5. Follow me on Instagram. My account's public.
Man Joe, yeah.
Yeah, my account's public. I don't really have too much on there. I have pictures every once in a while, but can't really post too much about what I do.
Yeah, and charge some lives now. They no weenies up at the bar anymore.
No.
Real lives you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of scary, huh?
No, it's not even scary. It's exciting. It's a people's profession. I love working with other people. It's something I realized, just through working here and just being a coach. And football is my adrenaline rush, and getting out there and testing myself, and that team aspect of accomplishing a goal. And now it's the infantry. Now it's the Army. That's my job now. So that's what I look forward to, and I'm excited. It's an exciting feel. It's a huge responsibility, but I've come to terms with it. And I think it's an exciting role, and I think I get a chance to really mentor people and mold lives like I did here.
Kind of like growing up to be a teacher.
Yeah.
You're here to help.
Yeah, I'm just here to help any way I can. Bring
That's
sons and
awesome.
daughters home. Keep America safe.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially now times.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going on. The average person has no clue.
No.
Just like me, no clue. I know about this gym. Joe, I hope you're safe. I really appreciate you coming on. If y'all have any questions, you can follow Joe on Instagram. You can email me at info@explosivemechanics, or you can follow me on Twitter at explosivemec, Instagram at explosivemechanics. Again, this is Ranger Walker. Joe is with me since high school, college. Went to play football at Army, went to coach at Army, and now he's a Ranger. So thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.